where hinges creak in doorless chambers, where strange and frightening sounds echo through the halls, where candlelights flicker, though the air is deathly still. This is Phantom Manor. Welcome, curious friends. You may not believe it, but beauty once lived in this house, and beauty lives here still. Come, I have more beauty to show you. Henry Ravenswood was a man like every other, a mere western settler who through sheer luck struck gold in Big Thunder Mountain. Using his newly discovered fortunes, he founded the Thunder Mesa Mining Company, and the city of Thunder Mesa was born. As a testament to his success, Ravenswood built himself a grand manor high on Boot Hill, overlooking his Big Thunder Mountain, where he lived in view of the city with his wife Martha and his beautiful daughter Melanie.
The Haunted Mansion at Disneyland in California opened its doors to guests on August 4th, 1969. Whilst it opened a few years after his death, Walt Disney had personal influences on the attraction and brought together differing ideas from Imagineers to create a unique attraction that successfully challenged the idea of the ghost train. The attraction was a unique blend of grim and quirky ideas that provided a personality that accompanied the Haunted Mansion into its success. During its now over 50 years of operation at Disneyland Park, the ride has seen barely any adjustments, a testament to the quality of the art, technology, and storytelling used within the attraction. As the Disneyland Haunted Mansion was being constructed, a similar version was being planned for the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World. With this in mind, when the props and animatronics were being created, duplicates of almost everything were being made for the future ride. The Haunted Mansion at the Magic Kingdom opened in 1971 and was incredibly similar to the original iteration, with one of the biggest and most obvious changes being the Gothic Revival-style mansion facade, which blended more with Liberty Square, the land in which the ride was situated. In 1983, an additional version of the Haunted Mansion opened at Tokyo Disneyland, which took further inspiration from the Magic Kingdom iteration. It wasn't until the late 1980s, when planning was underway for the upcoming Euro Disneyland, that the Haunted Mansion concept would experience its first major change.
Big Thunder Mountain was rumored by natives to be home to the Thunderbird, a powerful spirit possessing a treasure. According to the legend, its wrath could be materialized into a terrible earthquake. However, Ravenswood would not believe such stories. Years went by and the gold in Big Thunder Mountain became scarce, making miners dig deeper and deeper into the mountain, ignoring the warnings of those wiser. With these years, Melanie grew from a young girl into a beautiful young woman, and became drawn to several suitors who planned to take her away from Thunder Mesa, much to the dismay of Henry. Henry did everything he could to stop this, with the first 4 suitors being subjected to various cruel fates. His useless attempts to stop Melanie in the midst of being engaged to a train engineer named Jake were put to a stop when a terrible earthquake killed Henry and Martha. It seemed the Thunderbird had been awakened, and the family was never heard from again. After several years, the story of what really happened came out from underneath the rubble.
Euro Disneyland was an entirely new endeavour pursued by a new wave of Imagineers inspired by the greats that came before them. Instead of just creating Disneyland again, executive designer of Imagineering Tony Baxter felt it was necessary to provide their own unique twist on attractions, which had become staples of the Disney lineup. With previous work designing Big Thunder Mountain at both Disneyland and the Magic Kingdom, Baxter had ambitious plans for the European version of Frontierland, being redesigned from the ground up. Baxter's version would romanticize the idea of the West, with a more cinematic and grand approach to its design instead of a faithful representation of history. Instead of just serving as a backdrop, Frontierland at Euro Disneyland would create an overarching story for the many attractions contained within its borders, centralized around Henry Ravenswood and his town of Thunder Mesa. With Big Thunder Mountain playing an integral role in this narrative, it received a more prominent position at the center of the rivers of the Far West, effectively replacing what would usually contain Tom Sawyer Island. The Haunted Mansion at Euro Disneyland would be located within this newly designed Frontierland, overlooking the town of Thunder Mesa. The facade for the attraction differed greatly from the other iterations, taking inspiration from Victorian Second Empire architectural stylings to blend more appropriately with Frontierland. It was also the first to appear derelict and abandoned, with Imagineer Mark Davis commenting on its appearance saying that Walt would never approve of it. Whilst it's true that Walt Disney wanted his parks to remain pristine, thematically, cinematically, and with language barriers, the change made sense. To elevate the attraction into a more cinematic story-focused experience, Imagineers took inspiration from novels such as Gaston Leroux's 1909 novel The Phantom of the Opera. With this cinematic approach, a darker and deeper Haunted Mansion felt far more thematically appropriate than the cheery quirks that would be inherited from the original attraction.
On Melanie's wedding day, a mysterious phantom unknown to anyone appeared in the house. While Melanie was preparing in her room, the phantom lured her betrothed Jake up to the attic, where he hanged him by the neck from the rafters. In the ballroom, the bride sat alone. Hours went by with no sign of the groom. Guests slowly filed away, leaving Melanie alone in the house with the staff of maids and butlers. Someday, she told herself, he will come. And so, having never taken off her wedding dress or dropped her flower bouquet, in preparation for her loved one's return, she wandered the house aimlessly, singing melancholy songs of lost love. Inside and outside, the house began decaying with age. Dusty cobwebs covered every inch, the disheartened staff not caring. It was rumored that Melanie had lost her mind. She wandered the house for years and years, singing softly to her groom. Everywhere she went, she was reminded of the wedding. The phantom was still in the house, laughing at her human devotion to her intended husband. One after one, he invited his dead demonic friends from the afterlife to fill the house in an eternal party. All around Melanie, demons and ghosts reveled and danced. The phantom's eternal laughter still carried through the halls of the house.
Euro Disneyland presented new cultural challenges for the budding Imagineering team. Firstly, the Haunted Mansion name was changed to the Phantom Manor, as it appeared relatively similar in both English and French. Being within short travel distance of many countries with different languages, the importance of compelling visual storytelling to convey the narratives of the Phantom Manor was stronger than ever. Many of the original effects were given visual overhauls with representations of Melanie and the residents of the manor to help convey the story of the attraction. To help push the cinematic approach, the attraction is underscored with an original soundtrack composed by John Debney, derived from the Haunted Mansion's Grim Grinning Ghost sing-along tune. Within the actual attraction itself, the first half of the ride experience remains rather faithful to the Haunted Mansion, including the usage of the versatile Omni Mover ride system. Guests enter the attraction through the front door of the manor and are greeted with a brief introduction before entering into the famous stretching rooms. Similar to Disneyland's version of the Haunted Mansion, These stretching rooms serve as elevators to lower guests underneath the manor facade and into the show building located behind it, providing the illusion that the entire attraction is contained within the decrepit building. Once inside, guests are transported through familiar scenes with unique twists, often containing references to Melanie and her tragic love. This includes the endless hallway with Melanie and the Phantom holding the floating candelabra, Madame Leota referencing the tragedy within her seance, and the ballroom being transformed into a wedding banquet. In many scenes of these, the Phantom can be seen terrorizing and taunting Melanie. Later scenes within the attraction begin to divulge from the haunted mansion. Instead of the traditional graveyard romp, Phantom Manor takes you into the catacombs, directly guided by the Phantom himself. As you descend, the singing busts come into view singing a jazzier grim-grinning ghost, surrounded by dancing dead skeletons. Guests are then transported into Phantom Canyon, a ghoulified version of Thunder Mesa. There are great rifts of earth surrounding the vehicles, suggesting that an earthquake has taken place, perhaps the same which took the lives of the Ravenswood elders. Guests pass by a ruined town hall with the mayor of Phantom Canyon, who warns the travelers of hitchhiking ghosts and invites them to become the Manor's 1,000th guests. The voice snippets used for this animatronic are from Paul Frees, the original ghost host from the Haunted Mansion, and the face is the same mold used for the Dreamfinder in Epcot's Journey into Imagination with Figment, which Tony Baxter worked on. Guests are then greeted to the many citizens of the canyon, including a cowboy shootout and a saloon. Much of this area is inspired by a scene featuring in the cancelled attraction called Western River Expedition. This ride was going to feature at the Magic Kingdom in place of Pirates of the Caribbean, but was cancelled at the last minute due to guests complaining that there were no pirates. In true Imagineering fashion, many aspects of the attraction were recycled for other experiences. The ride concludes with the famous hitchhiking ghost mirror scene. When guests look into their carriage, they can see Melanie joining them, begging for them to wed her. Guests exit the attraction through the Manor's wine cellar to the sound of the Phantom's laughter, and Melanie's voice telling them to hurry back. Once they've left the Manor, they enter into Boot Hill, a cemetery containing gravestones for the Ravenswoods and many others. Melanie's tomb can be found on Boot Hill with the sound of her heart beating echoing through the concrete. And if one turns around towards the mansion from the cemetery, they can often catch a glimpse of the Phantom looking over them from the manor, before he quickly closes the curtains, escaping from sight. Over the years, Phantom Manor has received several refurbishments, which have only reinforced and bolstered the story of Henry and Melanie, a testament to the timelessness of the attraction and its immense popularity amongst guests.
Today, no one knows if Melanie Ravenswood is still alive in that old house on the hill. If she is, then she is well over 100 years old. Her beautiful voice still carries over the town at night, though through the walls of the house in night air. And sometimes people still see lights in the house. Some nights, when the moon is full and the sky is clear of clouds, one can still hear the lonely mourning of the bride, the maniacal laughter of the Phantom, and the faint tinkle of glass and laughter of party guests. Whether she is alive or not, what is well known is that poor Melanie never really left the crumbling mansion. She waits for her groom until Judgment Day. For ReviewTyme, I'm Dominic, and this is Phantom Manor.